had, and I got the opportunity to make this move. And I'm sure that he did it with the governors. I can't say the owner. The governors of the team also had to green light that puppy. You don't think Brown and Tatum had to green light that puppy? About how things were going to go down?
The Cedric Maxwell podcast is brought to you by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network.
All right, it's another episode of the Cedric Maxwell podcast. I am Joseph Pavone. He is Cedric Maxwell, and this episode, of course, is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. New customers right now can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. That's right, $200. That's at FanDuel.com/Boston. I'll tell you more about that later, but we got to get into what Celtics have been doing this week.
Hold on, since you said that, I got some money right now. I'm saying Mac Jones is going to be benched again.
You putting your money on that bet? All right.
I think FanDuel probably got that one down. Woo.
I mean, there's a lot of people in the Patriots fan base right now that probably take that bet, but we'll wait and see this weekend and see what happens. But yeah, the NFL season is in full swing for sure. So head over to FanDuel.com/Boston. And as the NBA starts back up, the preseason, first week of the preseason, we got our first glimpse of this revamped Boston Celtics team, featuring, of course, the big unicorn in the middle. That's Kristaps Porzingis, who was traded during the offseason, and Jrue Holiday in the backcourt, which I guess the Celtics went ahead and went against our advice, right, Max? If you remember our last episode, we were pretty much saying it's going to come down to trading someone like Robert Williams, and we were sort of on the fence about it. At the end, we decided not to. It was probably in the best interest of the Celtics not to do that, but they went ahead and did it anyways. Malcolm Brogdon joined him, 2 future first-round picks. Jrue Holiday has now pushed the Celtics to become one of the favorites to win the title in 2024. How you feeling about Jrue Holiday right now?
I love Jrue Holiday. I'm still disappointed that you got rid of my favorite dog in Marcus Smart, but you did bring me back a dog in return. And Holiday, man, he is relentless defensively, probably a little bit more consistent score than Marcus Smart. But I think he fits in well with what they do. And he's going to have added incentive to play against, isn't there a gentleman from Milwaukee that was traded? Oh, I know, Dame Lillard. He's going to have added incentive to come back and stick it to the Bucks. I had an opportunity to talk to Jrue a little bit at the hotel the other day. And his wife, and we're going to see if we can get on the podcast, but his wife wrote a great article about loyalty and what is not loyalty. And she mentioned that Jrue Holiday, 2 days before the trade, he was on his Instagram feed and he put in Buck for life. Well, life must have been 2 days. And we talked about that, and she said, it's really funny how if a player wants to be traded, he's chastised. He's chastised. But if a player is traded, then so what? And I was talking to Jrue about the same thing at the hotel. He said, yeah, so what? He said, get over it. Go on with what you're doing. I said, how'd you find out? He said, I took a nap. I woke up and my wife talked to me, and he said, didn't hear from the Bucks, but they heard from his agent, and the rest is history. He was out the door and a little uncertain. He talked about his daughter, who is of age now, where she has friends in Milwaukee, and it was going to be tough on her, but he understands it's a business. But boy, what a cutthroat move that he felt it was for the Bucks to kind of get rid of him in favor of bring Dame Lillard in.
Yeah, that's the part of the whole letter that really surprised me, that he didn't even get a heads up from the organization. Like, that part really surprised me. And I get it.
Why did that surprise you? Why the hell did that surprise you? Wait a minute, did Marcus Smart get a heads up?
No, he didn't. But at least in the Celtics' defense, you would like to believe that they had the Malcolm Brogdon deal in place, and maybe that was the reason why. But real quick, I was just gonna say, from the Bucks' perspective, I understand the fact that they were sort of trying to do this thing. They're trying to keep this thing hush hush. Like, no one was talking about the Bucks in the Lillard sweepstakes, and that's what you're supposed to do, right? You don't want that to get out. You especially don't want Lillard's camp to find out about that because they're trying to send their guy to Miami the whole time. So I get that you kind of want to keep things under wrap. But right before you agree to that deal, Jrue should have got a phone call. Come on, Max. That guy helped you win a championship, okay? That guy helped you win a chip.
This is how it is. It's called misdirection. You look this way, but the play is going on the other side of the court. That's misdirection. People keep saying now, and I hate to be, that's one of those Trump lines people are saying, but people,
but it's your own opinion, but you're like, people are saying,
they talked about Giannis possibly tampering when they were picking players for the All-Star game. And Giannis, the first player he took was Dame Lillard. Mm-hmm. And LeBron said, man, that's kind of strange. And now for them to be teammates together, maybe give a little bit more strange. Coincidence? Maybe. But at the end of the day, players don't get it. Surprise you fans. Players don't get informed until, the third hour, until it's over. Nobody's calling you. You think that Marcus Smart having green hair, and all of a sudden, hey, no, you're not involved in the trade. You're okay. You're good.
Yeah, see, okay, that's another thing too. Yeah, to tell someone they're good and then go trade them, it's a little shady. But my thing is, there are some players who should get that heads up, especially a guy who was right after Giannis, just as important. I mean, after Giannis, the most important person on that team that brought you a title.
They don't do that this way. That's normally not how it goes. If a player,
you think that's right? You agree with that?
If a player, I don't agree with it, but that's just the way it is. That's just business. That's why I want fans to get over this thing about if a player says, I don't want to play here, and then fans get all up in arms about, oh my God, you don't want to play with, and then all of a sudden you get a guy who says he wants to be here and he's traded the next day. I mean, this guy said buck for life. I ain't going to Milwaukee buck for life. And I won a championship with this team. I bought them a chip. I was a huge contributor in doing this. What do I get in return?
Pretty much.
See you later.
Not even a goodbye. I mean, we don't know. Maybe they had a conversation after the fact, but at that point, it's too late, right? You want to know beforehand, or at least you want to say,
right here.
I got
you see this right here?
Conversation.
A kick right out the door. That's what. Bye. See you later. Take your $37 million. Take that and go to Milwaukee. Go to Portland, and Portland doesn't want you. And now we're gonna send you back to Boston. That's a hell of a trade. That's a movement. Your head had to be spinning because he knew once he got to Portland, probably wasn't going to be there. And then boom, coming all the way back across the country. You went from one coast, West Coast. You went from the middle of the country in Milwaukee to the West Coast. And then all in another day, you're back on the East Coast. You went all the way across the country. So I'm sure that his head had to be spinning.
You think Milwaukee just didn't care about the chances that he could be traded to Boston?
Milwaukee cared about one thing, two things maybe. One, the most important thing was keeping Giannis happy.
Sure.
That is one of the things they wanted to do. And I'm sure that they had to talk to Giannis about this particular trade before it went down. Two was, what is the best way of maybe winning another championship? And I'm not saying that Jrue isn't Dame Lillard. He's not the scorer that Dame Lillard is, because Dame Lillard and Steph are that's 1-2 when talking about range and shooting the basketball.
Right.
But he is just as good, if not, he's better defensively when you think about Jrue Holiday and what he brings to the table. So caring isn't the word I'd use. I just think that teams right now are calculating, and this is what they wanted to do. That there is some appeasement, because remember Giannis said this summer, I'm not thinking if I want to sign an extension. What do you think happened in Milwaukee when he said that?
Panic. What does he want? Let's get it now.
Thank you. Bells going off, whistles going off.
This is not a drill.
What do we have? So their main objective was to appease Giannis Antetokounmpo. That was it. And win the championship might even be second to that, to appeasing him.
Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed. That's guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. It absolutely is. The app is easy to use, and you can be on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston. Kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
What do you think about Lillard's perspective from this whole thing? Because he had an interesting article. He had a sit down with Chris Haynes, I want to say like a day or two after the trade went down. And he was talking about how everything unfolded between the organization and himself, saying that the Miami thing didn't work out. There was still that sense of, is he going to come to training camp? What's he going to do? Lillard shows up to the facility, right? This is before training camp and everything. And he sort of talked to the guys, and apparently the GM, Joe Cronin didn't even didn't have a conversation with him. So you think, okay, things aren't good right now, but it is what it is. I'm not going to get what I wanted here. Fast forward later in the story, and he's pretty much saying, look, if the Miami thing's not going to work out, we could try to work things out in Portland. And he's told at that point, oh no, we're trading you. We're going to figure this thing out. It's probably not going to be Miami, but we're beyond that point. So it was sort of interesting to hear Lillard say that, because it's like, in one sense, he's like, oh, I'm excited about the opportunity in Milwaukee, but in the other sense, he's like, hey, just so you guys know, like, we could have still made this thing work in Portland. And I thought that's interesting, because it's like, wait a minute, if you're beyond that point of no return, like, it kind of sounds like you're being forced out when you're still being, you get what I'm saying, Max? It's like, you can't have it both ways here, man. Like, you wanted out, you didn't get the pick you wanted to, and now you're still in a winning situation, but you're saying, hey, things could have went down differently, just so you guys know. But I'm still gonna go to Milwaukee.
No, that ship sailed.
Right.
That ship had sailed. The GM knew what they wanted to do. They knew they couldn't get as much back from Miami. Tyler Hero isn't going to be, sustain you for Damian Lillard. Right. Can you get Jimmy Butler? What else can you get from Miami?
Shit, Max, if they offer Bam, this is probably a done deal. And I don't know how Miami Heat fans feel about that or whatever, but like, I mean, look, if you look at the other trade packages, you can't say that Portland did Lillard dirty in the sense of like, oh, we could have got the same amount of assets if we changed to Miami. Come on, the deal that they got for Lillard, I don't think you get that from Miami or anywhere else. Well, the way they got Ayton from Phoenix, and the way they got Holiday and turned Holiday into more assets.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're them, you look at the assets that you were able to acquire. You got first round draft choices. You end up picking up. You end up getting up Rob Williams. You end up getting up Brogdon. There's a kid from DeAndre
Ayton. They also got the Suns rookie too.
So a Suns rookie. So you got a big haul. But what had to happen was you had to have somebody else as a trading partner, and that was a big thing. Somebody else had to come in, and boy, Brad Stevens, man. Danny Ainge must be freaking rolling over right now,
going real quick. That's Blockbuster Brad, all right? That's who that is, Max. That's Blockbuster Brad doing it again right before media day, man. You can't make this up.
What first round picks? What do you mean? They're 26, 27, 28, and
we can take them all, damn it. Take them all.
Yeah, wait a minute. I turned that into what? I turned that into Jrue Holiday. An all-star, I turned it into Porzingis.
You can even say Derek White. You can say all those future picks, man. All those future first rounders.
Yeah, so wow. I mean, I don't think that, and you look at the first round picks, the late ones you've had, Rob Williams pretty good. Rondo, another one. But after that, you don't start thinking about late draft choices that the Celtics have had between 15 and 28. They have really developed. to one of those kind of players.
Right.
I mean, Rondo probably had to be at the top of the list, where he was taken. And then Rob Williams had to be, pretty good taken, in his position. But most of those other picks, you don't even remember who they might be.
Right.
And is
Carson Edwards, the Romeo Langfords of the world.
Yeah. I mean, and Sullinger was taken with number 12, 13, something 13. Like that. Not a bad pick. He was a pretty good pick, but so far as the Celtics are concerned, he never really stuck. They were ready to move it.
A lot of these guys, they never materialized. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I'm Brad and I got the opportunity to make this move, and I'm sure that he did it with the governors. I can't say the owner. The governors of the team also had to green light that puppy. You don't think Brown and Tatum had to green light that puppy, about how things were going to go down? Because you remember, Tatum is coming up for a new contract.
Right.
So you have to you got to run that stuff through him. So I'm sure that those two had a lot to do with, there was a lot said to those guys about what was happening. And if you read what the Celtics have said, they said, look, we want to win a banner in the next, our window is here in the next 6 or 7 years. We got
Wick's saying 6 years. Yeah, he's looking at this thing.
We got 6 years to possibly 6-7 years to win a banner, win a couple more banners. And they said, we're going to do whatever it takes. So luxury tax, all that other stuff, be damned. They ready to roll the dice, and hey, I'm happy that this team is making that kind of commitment towards doing what needs to be done. Only thing that you and I talked about is, so now how thin is your bench?
Right. Well, that's the thing, Max. I mean, that's why we were so hesitant when we were talking about this deal last episode, right? Because it's like, man, you give up Rob, you get really thin up in the front court. And this is the first summer we're actually seeing him. He's healthy. He's going into the season. He's been working out in the gym in June and all this stuff. This is going to be the year. This is the time we see Rob at his full potential. But then Brad, with an opportunity to bring in someone like Jrue, he was like, man, this is the best time to trade Rob. This is when his stock is at its highest. This is the type of guy that no other team can put into a deal, and that's what got it done. I got to give Brad props for having the cojones to do it, to pull it off, to get his guy. He's not afraid to, and he put a guy in there. And you also have to think about it like this: if you're Brad, 2, 3, 4 months down the road, if Rob gets hurt, do you know how many sleepless nights this guy's gonna have thinking, man, I could have had Jrue Holiday. I could have had this, backcourt of Holiday and White to match up against the Milwaukee Bucks. Why didn't I trade Rob? I could have had it. I could have. I don't think he wanted to be in that situation. He didn't want to see himself down the road thinking that.
I think that, I think those were the moves he had. He wanted to make it. He had an opportunity, and he rolled the dice. And now you turn around and you invest $30 million into Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah, man, he got a little bag now.
Did you see that coming?
Yeah, I didn't. You know what, Max? I thought they would extend him, but I didn't think they would do it before the preseason. And then he goes off. Man, he's led this team in scoring in all 3 of their preseason games, and he's been electric, man. Drained 6 3-pointers in that first game, and it carried over for sure, man. He's determined, and he's focused right now, man.
Yeah,
that's Pritchard.
I give him that. The only thing that bothers me, again, very thin, Al Horford, how can he go? Second night back-to-back, Porzingis with his feet sometimes. How can they go? Again, you look at Brown and Tatum getting a lot of minutes. And the only thing that kind of bothers me about this preseason so far is, where is Sam Hauser's shot going? Mm-hmm. Sam Hauser, who is dead red from the three-point line, shooting probably below 20% right now. In the teens right now from the three-point line. But, maybe that's just an aberration, and he'll be back. I think he's too good of a shooter. But, you've done some things. You've got some new coaches in. You got somebody else in Joe Mazzulla's ear.
Sam for sure.
The group of new coaches, assistant coaches they have. You know what? They roll the dice, and God bless them. We'll see if it works.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, we're getting our first look at it throughout these preseason games. We're also looking at the rest of the roster and how that's going to make up throughout the preseason and going into the regular season, right? How does Joe Mazzulla handle these rotations and what the starting lineup's going to be like? All that good stuff, man. We'll get into it in our next episode, so stay tuned for that. It's going to do it for this one. He's Cedric Maxwell. I am Josue Pavone. Got plenty more to break down from Celtics preseason and whatever else happens in between, right? It's the Cedric Maxwell podcast. That's going to do it. We'll see you guys next week.